What's up, everybody? What is up? What is up? It is the Best Spot Kiss Move. We're going to do a quick video, man. I know I've been gone for a while. I got a couple of videos in the works. This one I want to talk about Xbox. As always, because most of my videos are about Xbox. A lot of people think my videos are about PlayStation, but that's not really the case. It's always been about Xbox and Xbox's biggest haters who just happen to be PlayStation fanboys. But Xbox has had an incredible year. I already made that video. The Activision deal is final. They're going to cap it off with a Call of Duty release that's probably going to be the number one, number two best selling game all year, which will fall under Microsoft, whatever. You know, they're going to drip feed some titles into Game Pass over the next couple months. There's a couple that I'm looking forward to. But man, I want to talk about something, man. The nerves of people all year, people, naysayers, have been talking so much crap about Xbox. I mean, I'm talking about these guys have been like super critical of everything Xbox has done, whether it was an email leak, whether how someone looked in the picture, whether it was a court hearing, whether it was if Microsoft paid taxes or not. Every game release ultimately like scoped down. You know what I mean? Every game. At the start of the year when Hi-Fi Rush came out, it was like high 80s. One reviewer gave it like a low score, not because the game was bad, it's because Xbox had no game the previous year, so it docked Hi-Fi Rush. Like that's the low. Like Xbox year has been so good to the point where like a game like Hi-Fi Rush was so good that people really couldn't say anything bad about Hi-Fi Rush. They just resulted into saying, "Oh, Xbox doesn't deserve this. This is a PlayStation game." Oh, like they snatched this off of PlayStation, right? Stuff like that, right? So here I am, and I'm like, why is Xbox getting so much hate? You know what's crazy? Last year, you know, rightfully so, me, few others, you know, got on Xbox for 2022 and not having no major releases. I was not arguing with people about Xbox lack of releases in 2022. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Whatever. If people push us, oh, you got to call this out. You got to call out Microsoft, right? Cool. Did that. 2023 rolls around. They had the Xbox Direct. They had a bunch of games released. They had the Xbox Game Showcase. They had their mega games release, some awesome games that landed in Xbox Game Pass, and which we're about to talk about some awesome games that landed into Xbox Game Pass. But the thing is, every month, like dudes were going in, and it's crazy though. The craziest thing, as this has been one of Xbox's most critical years in terms of reception, people having beef with everything they do. On the other side, the other platform that everybody, you know, loves has been going through one of the biggest droughts. Now, granted, Square Enix came into the rescue and released about maybe, I think, 3 major games or something like that. And then they're going to close out the year with, a really good game, which is Spider-Man, which, you know, I'm even looking forward to that. But my thing is that this whole entire year, PlayStation has been going through its own drought. On the other side, Xbox is releasing games, but PlayStation fanboys and Xbox haters have been directing all their criticism, their hate, their outrage to Xbox, and they're the ones releasing games. Like, and if it's not an Xbox exclusive, it was a big game going into Game Pass, bro. Like, think about this. All right, Dark Tide, say what it is, whatever. It's a day one Game Pass. It's not on PlayStation right now. Paw Patrol, Payday 3, AA game, but day one, brand new game into Game Pass day one. Lies of P is probably a Game of the Year nominee for sure. Day one into Game Pass. Like, if you're an Xbox customer, I mean, we're eating good. Starfield, personally, my game of the year. I don't know how many times I got to say it. But Bethesda delivered, Xbox delivered. The media pretty much had it. This game was a test to the media, and people wanted to get famous. This was the game to get some journalists famous. So a lot of people slighted the game and pretty much abused their ability and their credibility by giving the game a less than a fair score to get it, because I think realistically Starfield is more of somewhere between 87 and 89. But with all the fake 60s scores and stuff like that, I think it's now sitting at an 83 or 84. I still think it's a true worthy game of the year contender. It made noise. People played it, put hours into it. People are still playing it, and people are still talking about it because they're jealous. We had Texas Chainsaw. Obviously Redfall came out. People were, now this was the poorest release. Redfall was the poorest release on Xbox, but they're showing and proving that they're keeping this game alive. We just got the 60 FPS update, and I'm returning to the game to play it full time because of that 60 FPS update. Starfield, I give a pass. Honestly, the game was just that damn good. They did a good job with the game. Redfall, however, is smaller in scope. It's not a large RPG. It's not like a game that's graphically demanding. So to me, it had no excuse to be 30 FPS at launch. We had games like Ravenlock, launch day one, Planet of Lana, Minecraft Legends, of course, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which was my early game of the year, which is still one of my favorite games. Atomic Heart came out. Like Hi-Fi Rush obviously is pretty dope. So we had all these major releases like going into the service like day one. And people were just acting like it was like it was dry out here on Xbox, and that was not the case. There's been, and I think Xbox itself, from the first party standpoint, yeah, they more than redeemed themselves. Like, I'm actually trying to figure out what was the better year, 2021 or 2023. 2021, remember, Xbox won Publisher of the Year because they had games like Flight Sim. They had games like Forza Horizon 5. They had Psychonauts 2, Halo Infinite. All their games were rounding out about like high 80s to early 90s. I forgot where they landed in terms of the total aggregate score. And this time I feel like they delivered, in a year where there is no Halo or Gears of War to hold them up. And they relied on new IPs, something that people were super critical. And Forza Motorsport came back from a 6-year hiatus. And they delivered. Like I said, they're assured of, if you're going to release 8 games in a year, if you're going to release 8 games, eight and a half games, yeah, one of them is bound to be like so or bad, which was, unfortunately it was Redfall, but everything else was pretty damn good. And Xbox is still bearing that hate from these guys who all they want Xbox to do is to compete. All they want is games, but yet Xbox has been delivering these games, and any chance is nothing but criticism for it. It's nothing but criticism. Oh, Forza this, Starfield that. Like, everything has been like criticized to the T with Xbox. Forget the fact that they released games, or like they over delivered on the whole 4 major games a year. They delivered 8 games, or depending on how you look at it. And I had a blast. A lot of those games that I've beaten, that I've enjoyed this year, were either made by Xbox or a day one in Xbox Game Pass. So I don't know, man. At some point, people gotta stop hating, man. Gotta stop hating. And the crazy thing about this, at the end of the day, right? The end of the day, some of you guys spent all year dissing and trashing Xbox, right? You don't really have a major game, because a lot of you guys aren't VR people. You didn't buy the VR. You didn't play that stuff. A lot of you guys, you tried to buy into Forspoken. Some of you, bought into Final Fantasy 16, but these weren't your Naughty Dogs, your Sony Santa Monica's, your Insomniac, stuff like that. They were just like, dates from Square Enix. Square Enix, provided you some so-so games, right? Some so-so games. Like Final Fantasy 16 wasn't the Final Fantasy game that Final Fantasy fans wanted. Forspoken wasn't the game that people was hoping it was going to be. So I say that to say this: you're trashing Xbox all year. Spider-Man is about to release. Sure, I think on Monday, Tuesday, the Metacritic's going to go. It's going to be like maybe a mid to high 80s game. Maybe it may break 90. Whatever. You're going to celebrate it. The game's going to come out, right? The game's going to come out. Going to play it. Some of you are going to probably beat it in 2 to 3 days because you're that starved of game that you're just going to like play it, delve into it, and play it nonstop. And next thing you know, it's over. And my question is going to be, was it really worth it? You talked all this shit from January all the way to October, dismantled every Xbox release, every Xbox news, every Xbox update, right? Just for Spider-Man to come out, and you're pretty much done within 3 days. It's like all that build up, all that anticipation, because a lot of people's hype for Spider-Man, it's not even about Spider-Man or how good it is. They're anticipating it because they wanted the Metascore to be better or higher than anything Xbox released this year, right? That's their number one goal. It has to score higher than every Xbox game that released this year. So that means it has to be pretty much an 88 or better, right? It has to be an 88 or better. It has to sell. It's going to sell, right? Spider-Man is going to sell regardless, right? It's going to sell whatever. When you look at Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2018, this game's going to sell gangbusters, right? So not only that, but they need this game to be a weapon against everything Xbox did all year, because from January to freaking now, there was nothing. And from January to now, Xbox has been releasing consistently. Something that they said Xbox doesn't do, something they said Xbox needed to do, but when Xbox was doing it, all they did was hate on it. But my thing is, you did all that, finally get Spider-Man, it's going to be great, you're going to be done with it, and then what? Then what? Because there's no outlook on 2024 outside of Square Enix again, who's going to deliver another Final Fantasy game. Whereas Xbox, the outlook for 2024 so far is the new Flight Sim, Avowed, Hellblade, which is highly anticipated. And then there's several unannounced games, and we know we just closed the Activision deal, so who knows what's going to happen with that. So my thing is that all that hate for what? Was it really worth it? I just can't imagine bundling the hate, like using all this because of status, like trashing Xbox while they've been delivering. PlayStation has been dry. PlayStation finally gets a game. It's going to come and it's going to go. And it's like, what now? Do you just return to bashing Xbox for another year as they're about to release a whole bunch of new games? Is that it? Until the next major PlayStation game release, because there's nothing else to do? You guys aren't gamers. Xbox had an incredible 2023, and you guys have not gave them their flowers. And PlayStation has been very, very dry, and you guys have not acknowledged it. You guys haven't admitted it. You haven't said anything about it. All your energy was focused on what Xbox was doing. But what Xbox was doing was releasing games, and you guys weren't happy about it. That's my video, guys. Xbox is the best box. I'm in the best spot, and I'm about to get back to what I do best. Gaming. Peace.